I say that it's a legitimate consideration, a legitimate hypothesis that he was dead. And this show was done for a reason to be determined. Okay? But this guy has a habit of surrendering before he does something. What do I mean? I mean, he announced when we were getting out of Afghanistan before he did the surge. That's not how you fight a war. Because you know when you do that, you know what these guys, they say? They go up in the hills, go fight, good. We'll see you in July when you leave. And they'll come back. You can't fight a war like that. Well, he did the same thing.
I like what you said, though, that we went and we tried to jailbreak Osama, or we went in as a hit. Because that's true. Pakistan could have had him all locked up and cooped up and just, you know.
Wouldn't that make sense?
That makes sense as well. You know, and not going in because that's the politically correct Department of State thing to do, whatever. But I think at some point we have to say enough's enough. And then maybe that hit was after, you know, it was put out after they realized, look at all the other stuff that's going on with, you know, the Muslim nations and whatnot, that his authority or Osama bin Laden's star power or influence over Al-Qaeda has diminished.
Oh, yeah. That's one of the points that they make, that it really impacted, he had less and less impact on the daily operations of what was going on. He had really, and see, now, here's something to think about. This is something that sticks with me, for the reason we don't have the pictures. It was rumored years ago that Osama was on dialysis, okay? There is a real chance that he was laying in bed, and they came in and shot him. And the reason they're not showing that picture is because what would people think?
Yeah, that would have been murder.
That was shooting a guy laying in bed hooked up to a dialysis machine. And if you look at one of those pictures in the room, there's tubing, and it goes into this machine. You know, and see, what's killing us, what's hurting us more than anything else, is that the media has gone to the dark side of the force. They're an integral part. They're an integral part of our country. They have a responsibility to keep the crooks in jail, to expose the people that are doing bad. And they have been co-opted by the current administration and maybe others even before. Maybe it's been happening for years, and we're just really seeing it now because he's put socialists and communists in key positions, and nobody's ever done that before. Okay, so that really is like a screamer. And nobody in the media is saying, well, why? What's going on? Why are we doing this kind of thing? And another thing that he did, the same thing, he's talking about looking for fraud in gas prices, but the first thing he says is we're not going to drill anywhere. That's what I mean. He surrenders before he starts the war. If we're not going to drill anywhere, the prices are going to go up. Why? Because they know there's no new oil coming online. The last time the prices went up, you know what really brought them down? George Bush removing the drilling moratorium. That removed, there was a threat of a lot of oil coming on board, and all of a sudden the price went way back down. It was on the verge of going below $2 at one point, because I was commuting from Citrus County. Believe me, I was watching those prices like, oh, that was $700 a month in gas.
Holy cow.
Yeah, come on. Well, between the two of us. You know, so I mean, so anyway, so that was just one of the little points that I wanted to make that happens to tie into this fact that, and you see, when you think about where Osama was, you can't convince any rational human being that they didn't know. They didn't know. The intelligence community, they're either totally incompetent.
No, they knew.
They had to know.
That's why I say that, you know, I like your idea that we're just sitting and waiting, or that
we had the body
my
on
idea
ice.
that he'd been dead for a while and we just needed to release it, because there's no way. Oh, we can't find him in the mountains. That's crap.
And I rest my case. Yeah? And the reason I go along with that is because the FBI can get somebody who stole a loaf of bread across state lines. How long does it take them?
2 seconds.
Okay, right. I mean, they
get you.
They get you. And this was like, so whether he was dead and they did this little show so they could come out and say they killed him, or for reasons unknown, they decided to double cross Pakistan and go in and get him and kill him and dump him. I think that we have yet to see the truth in this endeavor.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I still don't think though that it was. I think in a little piece of me says it could have been because re-election campaign or whatever.
Oh,
but
I'm sure that came into it.
Yeah, that came into it. But I don't think that. I think that how some people are blowing it up is, oh, it was only done so he can, get his approval rating up.
No, it's not going to last that long.
I don't
How long
think
could it
so.
last?
Yeah.
And then they've handled it so bad.
Because the American public learned their lesson from Bush. His
Right.
approval rating went up. We reelected him, and then,
Right.
he really. I'm sure you can agree, he wasn't the best leadership we had those second 4 years. You know what I mean?
No, and you know something I felt too? I felt you have to, now.
So I think that as a lesson, the American public learned that.
Well,
just because he does one or two things that we approve of doesn't necessarily mean that
he gets carte blanche.
Yeah.
Well, and in my humble opinion, George Bush was a guy that had gone through changes in his life and was now in recovery. And he was in recovery from alcoholism. And that has an impact. And I think that was one of the reasons that he never fought back. People said the most horrible things about him. History is going to judge him as a good president. I'm not saying Abraham Lincoln, but as a good president.
Mm-hmm.
He kept the country safe. He did what he was supposed to do that way. But he wasn't a fighter. Now, and people said things about him, and he never answered them back. There's this movie, American President, with Michael Douglas and Annette Bening.
I was just thinking about that today, too.
A beautiful film.
I love that movie.
I love that movie. I got it. We can watch it if you want someday. It's a really, really beautiful film. I really, really love it. But she is making the point to him that if you let this guy just go on and keep saying things about you, you got to answer him. And he's saying, no, I'm not going to get in a fight. I'm not going to be a bully because he's picking on my girlfriend and all that stuff. Yeah, but you see, at the end, he had to say something.
Yeah.
Some point, you have to draw the line and say, enough. I mean, let me just check on. I wanted to do something. This is totally me. We talked about that Republican ad you spoke about before.
Okay.
This is not a Republican ad.
Okay.
I could be an independent. I could be anything. But me, personally, the Wiz, not the Angel, the Wiz, I am endorsing Sarah Palin for President of the United States in 2012. I'm saying it now on TV, and if you want to know my reasons, I'm not going to waste her time and our time on our show.
Has she announced that she's running?
No, she hasn't. And
Okay.
I'll tell you something. Whether she runs or not, I'm voting for her. And I explained
You can do
all
that?
this. Yes, you can. I explained all of this. I'm going to explain all of this on freerepublic.com. And if you go to our YouTube page, Angel and the Wiz, and you look at show 11, this will be part two. There'll be a link, and you can go see. I wrote it out. I'm going to post it so that people can see, so you don't have to listen to me talk about her courage and all that stuff that I believe in. You know why I want her as president? Because I trust her.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because I was thinking about that too. Just if I was to ever meet her, questions I would ask, and to find out, like my question I want to ask is, if she ran for president, do you think that the American public can take her seriously after she allowed such mockery on Saturday Night Live, after she subjected her family to the cameras in
the Alaska show?
The Alaska show.
It was great. Did you watch it?
No, I didn't.
It was great.
I wasn't interested in it.
But that's okay. But she did it for those people that wanted to see into her family life, and it was a great show. It was fun. You know what she showed us?
But do you know what
She's
I mean?
a person.
Yeah, we're all people. But what I'm saying is, like, does she feel that we could take her seriously after she's been so, she's, I don't know.
Well, listen, I will share this with you, and I was
because I know that I don't think I could.
Well, but you're basing that on
right, but I would have to meet her.
Up to now.
Yeah, I would have to meet her.
Well, I think if she does declare, you're gonna meet her. You're gonna get to meet her. Meet her, quotes, quote, meet her, because anybody that takes the time to read the things she writes understands just what an asset, how serious, how courageous, what a steel spot. This is a pioneer woman. This is the kind of woman that. Because they found a loophole in the law in Alaska that they could tie her up in lawsuits, frivolous lawsuits. They never won a case. But they could tie her up and keep her and her staff busy just doing that, spending the state's money, defending her. And it was just a little problem with the law.
Lawsuits about what?
Anything. You wouldn't believe the things that they came up with. You know what I mean? Oh, she traveled in a private plane. That's, frivolous, totally frivolous lawsuits. And she realized that if she stayed in office, she was going to do that and nothing else for the next 2 years. And she didn't think it was fair to the state. That's what I mean.
She said that?
Yes, she did. And
Why
she
couldn't
explained all
say
of that.
In what? Her book?
She said it in the press conference. She said it right. I could show you the tape where she said it. But you know what? That's not how it was played, because the media only does things that are good for Obama. And they want to tell you that Sarah Palin is a stupid woman. And I am telling you...
I don't think she's stupid.
No, but that's what they want you to believe. They want you to believe that she can see Alaska from her porch. Now, let me tell you something.
She better be able to see Alaska from her porch. She lives there.
You know what I mean. You're a troublemaker. You're just like the rest of them. They're all just always on me. But anyway, I
would have to say that, yes, the media hasn't portrayed her very effectively, but I think that I don't agree with the decisions she's made in her own self-portrayal, and I would have to...
Right, but she hasn't participated in her own self-portrayal, but for the Alaska show, which you haven't seen.
Doesn't she do a thing on Fox News?
She comments when they ask her to come in and comment.
Oh.
That's all she does. See, and what's happened is, and this tells you a lot, they are so scared of her. That's why all this, nobody, not even Richard Nixon, who they said was all of these things, has ever been attacked the way this woman, this single woman, has been attacked. And it tells you more than they could say any other way. That's how scared they are of her. And the reason some of the GOP, Republican elites, are scared of her too, I think we talked about this, is because she ain't one of the boys. You know what I mean? She gave the money from the oil leases to the people of Alaska. She didn't give it to the government. And the last thing in the world those people in Washington, D.C. want to hear is that you're going to give the people in the state of Utah money from their coal or the shales. No, that's government oil. We own that land, and we don't. The federal government does not own that land. That's the state's land, but they have usurped it, and it's a tragedy, really, when you think of how much land the federal government has taken, robbed from states, that it's not their land anymore, and then they decide what you can do about it. That's like this guy. He announces, we're not going to drill, but we're going to go to Brazil. And they're starting to run a commercial. Remember that thing I told you about with Brazil? They now have a commercial on TV. Him down there telling the people in Brazil, we're going to help you. We want you to sell. We want you to produce oil. You can come to our Gulf of Mexico, and we're going to be your biggest customer. That's taking our money and giving it to them. Our companies should be drilling. Why aren't our companies drilling there? Because the EPA won't let them. But these guys can come in because they don't have an EPA in their country. That's what I mean. See, those are the kind of things that are so incredibly bad. Wow.
What?
We have to think about going.
To where?
Going.
Oh, going. Hi. I thought you were. I'm like, we're going to take a trip to Alaska.
See what I have to put up with? I mean, I'm with this girl. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? She's beautiful, but every once in a while, you know, I get scared. I'm worried. That's not true. You look really beautiful. I didn't tell you that. You look really beautiful today.
Because it's the hair. There's not a lot of humidity today.
There's not a lot of humidity.
No.
But it makes you look very pretty. It goes around your face nice. It's TV stuff. We have to go.
Bye.
Bye.
Do something good.
Yeah.